Ellen Greenberg was a 27-year-old first-grade teacher in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was found dead of 20 stab wounds at her apartment complex on January 26, 2011. Samuel Goldberg was her fiance, and he was visiting the on-site gym at their apartment complex on January 26, 2011. Around 6:30 p.m. is when Samuel Goldberg called 911 and was heard on the 911 call stating, "Help, I need an ambulance now. I just walked into my apartment. My fiance is on the floor with blood everywhere." Goldberg had left the apartment to go to the on-site gym around 4:45 p.m. and returned about a half an hour later, where he found the door to their apartment was locked from the inside. Goldberg tried to reach Ellen through phone calls and text messages, but she never responded. He went to the doorman on duty that night and asked if he would help break the lock to their apartment so that he could get inside. However, the doorman declined because it is against their company policy. So Goldberg forced himself into the door and was initially unable to tell the operator on the 911 call where Ellen was bleeding from. He was heard on the 911 call stating, "Her shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh my God, she stabbed herself. She fell on a knife. I don't know. Her knife is sticking out. There's a knife sticking out of her heart." At this time, the operator asked Goldberg if she stabbed herself. He responded, "I guess so. I don't know. Or she fell on it. I don't know." Pathologist conducted her autopsy, Marlon Osborne. After discovering a total of 20 stab wounds to her body, Osborne initially ruled Ellen's death a homicide, but weeks later, he changed her manner of death to suicide. An inconsistency with the police's long-held stance that Ellen was never moved from the slumped position on the floor in which she was found when they arrived, with her head, neck, and shoulders propped against corner cabinets, not as Goldberg said on the 911 call, lying on her back on the floor. Here's a statement from the family lawyer. Quote, "We are asking to change the manner of death and open a new investigation with impartial people and impartial prosecutor. We are not asking for the moon, just justice for our daughter." The night Ellen was found, investigators on the scene treated her death as a suicide because Goldberg was cooperative and stayed on the scene. They reported there was no signs of an intruder, the apartment door was locked from the inside, and Ellen had no defensive wounds to indicate she fought off an attack. The following morning, Dr. Osborne conducted his autopsy. That is when all 20 stab wounds, including 10 to the back of her neck, were discovered. 8 wounds to her chest, 1 wound to her stomach, a gash across her scalp, and 10 wounds to the back of the neck. 2 days later, a police spokesperson was already publicly disputing Osborne's findings, saying police were leaning towards suicide and looking into some mental issues Ellen may have had. Osborne said he decided to have a neuropathologist examine Ellen's spinal cord to see whether it was damaged to the point it would have rendered her incapable of inflicting the subsequent wounds to herself, including the wound to her chest, which was the final wound. Lucy Wark-Adams was the neuropathologist who was conducting the examination. Osborne said he walked a section of Ellen's spinal cord over to Wark-Adams in a very heavy snow for an informal curbside exam. He said she didn't do a microscopic exam, but was still able to tell him the dura, or the sheath covering the spinal cord, was cut, but not the spinal cord itself, and there was no indication Ellen lost motor function. The family attorney learned about these statements from the depositions and stated the following, quote, "Essentially, he's taking a pickle jar with Ellen's spine and brainstem through the piled up snow, walking with that across the street or a couple of streets, thrusting it into her hands and saying, 'Give me a look-sees.'" There was no report created by Wark-Adams, and also there was no bill found for her work. In facts, Work Adams has stated that she has no recollection of conducting the exam and that without a report or bill for her services, that she would conclude that she did not see the specimen in question, although there is a remote possibility that it was shown to her. Later, Osborne said, "It doesn't seem like anyone else could have been in the room to inflict those injuries other than Miss Greenberg herself, and that this is how he came to the conclusion of suicide." Later, the doorman at the apartment complex gave a signed declaration for the civil case stating he didn't witness the door being broken, and video surveillance from the lobby obtained through discovery shows he didn't accompany Goldberg upstairs to the apartment that night when he broke the lock to the door. During Dr. Osborne's deposition, he had stated any doubt that the fiancé was escorted by the security guard, or if it was untrue what he was being told, then this cannot be a suicide. In an exam conducted in 2019 by Lindsay Emery, a pathologist certified in neuropathology, discovered 3 injuries of note to Ellen's spinal cord. One to the spinal cord tissue itself, which was done during the course of Ellen's autopsy, and there were 2 other cuts, one to the bone and ligaments in the back of Greenberg's spinal column and a corresponding cut to the dura that were from a bona fide sharp force injury and were not done at autopsy. She also noted that those injuries did not have any hemorrhaging around them. During Lindsay Emery's deposition, she was asked, "And by the fact that now the dura is not demonstrating hemorrhage, as you found also the spinal column didn't, would that weigh a little bit more in suggesting Ellen was dead at the time this wound was administered?" Lindsay Emery responded with yes. A month after her deposition, the city filed a written declaration by Emery in which she stated she didn't fully understand the scope of the questions posed to her at the deposition by the city's attorney, and she presented several other possibilities for the lack of hemorrhaging, including that nothing was injured along the wound path, that bleeding in other areas of the body prevented bleeding in that area, or that the injury could have been done at the time of autopsy. The family's attorney filed motions for summary judgment, which was denied in October of 2021. In December of 2021, a petition was filed by the Commonwealth Court seeking permission to appeal the judge's ruling allowing the case to move forward. In February 2022, Commonwealth Court granted the city's petition and ordered the civil trial to be placed on hold pending a decision in the appeal case. In July of 2024, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court decided to hear the case of Ellen Greenberg, whose death was ruled a suicide in 2011.